Welcome to the deep dive. We take complex ideas, we sort of pull them apart, and then hopefully put them back together so you walk away feeling genuinely well-informed. Today, we are tackling something huge. Maybe the oldest human quest there is. The search for meaning, for purpose, for some kind of ethical guidance in just existing.
It's fundamental, isn't it? Every culture, every person wrestles with, why are we here?
Exactly. And for ages, the answers often came from tradition, maybe divine texts, a sense of cosmic order. But here's the challenge for this deep dive, the real core of it. What happens when those traditional religious foundations, the ones that often gave pretty clear answers, are, well, removed?
Right. Or it just aren't convincing for someone anymore.
How do you build a life that feels moral, that feels purposeful, in a universe that doesn't seem to provide an instruction manual up front?
No divine cheat sheet.
That's exactly the challenge our source tackles. We've been digging into the work of humanist sage James Dalton, specifically his essay, Humanist Search for Purpose, Meaning, and Ethics. It's all about how you can find real significance, build solid ethics in a cosmos he describes as devoid of divine intervention.
Which sounds potentially bleak, but his argument is actually quite the opposite.
It really is. So our mission today, for you listening, isn't just a summary. We want to unpack the whole framework Dalton lays out. We're aiming to show you the key tools, philosophical, scientific, psychological, that humanism uses. Think of it as a shortcut to understanding this worldview where meaning isn't something you just stumble upon.
No, it's something you have to actively construct. You're the builder.
Piece by piece.
And that construction idea is so important. This deep dive is really about seeing how different kinds of knowledge fit together. Dalton's point, the humanist position, isn't just about not believing certain things. It's a positive effort.
A positive construction project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Connecting cosmology, evolution, philosophy, psychology, all these fields to try and build a coherent answer to those big existence questions.
And it doesn't shy away from the tough stuff, does it? Like the anxiety of having all that freedom.
Not at all. It embraces the huge responsibility that comes when you realize, okay, it's down to me. I'm the architect of my own meaning. It's a massive challenge, yes, but maybe also the greatest opportunity we have to define ourselves.
Okay, let's dive in. Where do we start unpacking this? Maybe at the biggest scale possible, the universe itself.
Makes sense. Dalton argues you can't figure out your place if you don't accept the scientific description of the place itself.
So yeah, the scientific story of where we came from, that's the bedrock.
The foundation.
Precisely. The humanist view is grounded in empirical evidence, in science. The origin story isn't myth, it's cosmology. We start, 13.8 billion years ago? The Big Bang?
Right. The idea that everything expanded from this incredibly hot, dense point. The cosmological singularity, as science calls it.
Just stopping there for a second. 13.8 billion years. It's almost impossible to really grasp that timescale.
It really is. And just letting that sink in, it immediately gives you a sense of, perspective. Humility, maybe.
Yeah, and vastness. This isn't just a date. It's the scientific narrative that frames our existence. We're tiny specks in an incredibly ancient context.
And the implication there is twofold, really. First, it shows a universe operating by understandable natural laws. No obvious need for supernatural explanations for how it works day to day.
Okay.
And second, that immense timescale. It just radically shifts how we see ourselves. We're not the instant centerpiece of everything. We're a very, very late arrival in this massive, ongoing cosmic process.
A late arrival. And that unfolding process, that leads us naturally to biology. How we got here specifically.
It does. So after the cosmic scale, you have the mechanism of our appearance, Darwin, evolution by natural selection.
Right, explaining all the diversity of life, including us, including consciousness eventually arising on Earth.
Yes, and Dalton really stresses the contrast here. From this view, humans aren't the result of some specific divine plan or instant creation. We are the incredibly complex outcome of billions of years of randomness and filtering.
Random genetic changes, natural selection, weeding things out.
Yeah.
Over unimaginable stretches of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got the universe's huge age, starting from that singularity. Then this slow, continuous, and crucially unintentional process of evolution bringing us forth. That totally resets the stage for finding meaning, doesn't it? It removes the idea of a pre-written cosmic script for humanity.
It absolutely does. And this right here is where Dalton pinpoints the big aha moment for the humanist perspective. The consequence of accepting the scientific picture is profound.
How so?
If there wasn't a predetermined plan from a creator, then the whole search for meaning has to shift gears. It can't be about discovering some external guaranteed purpose anymore.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
The challenge becomes finding meaning not in a plan, but in the sheer staggering fact of our existence itself.
Ah, so the meaning isn't given, it's inherent in the being here.
Precisely. That shift it's huge. If you accept that we're the result of these astronomical odds, life emerging, consciousness flickering into existence in this vast ancient universe, then the sheer improbability of it all becomes a source of value.
Instead of feeling lost and small because there's no divine plan, you feel kind of astonishing.
Lucky.
Exactly. Astonishing is a good word. Dalton argues strongly against the notion that science must lead to nihilism, to meaninglessness.
Right, the we're just accidental chemicals argument.
Yeah, he flips that. The universe's apparent indifference isn't a void, it's a canvas. A canvas for human meaning, human creativity. Think about the biological reality for a second.
Okay.
Every living thing, including you listening right now, represents an unbroken chain of successful reproduction stretching back nearly 4 billion years.
Wow, billions again.
Billions again, against all the odds, extinction events, climate shifts, cosmic rays, predators, disease, that chain held. The simple fact that you exist is the outcome of that incredibly tenacious, improbable success story. So just being here is enough. Is that the idea?
It's a profound starting point. Dalton would say it's an awe-inspiring, frankly sufficient reason to value life intensely and to pursue flourishing. You're not some tiny cog in a divine machine with an unknowable purpose. You are this brief, brilliant, utterly unique expression of 13.8 billion years of cosmic history unfolding.
And realizing that. That's the foundation. That's where the wonder starts.
That's the launch pad for wonder, yes. It's the scientific grounding for finding significance right here, right now.
Okay, so science gives us this incredible scale, this context. We're improbable, unique survivors on this tiny planet. Magnificent, even. But if the universe doesn't hand us a purpose with that existence, if we accept the science, where does the blueprint come from?
Yeah, how do you build a good life, a defined life, on that foundation?
Right. We have to build it ourselves, you said. So this is where we shift from the what is of science to the what should we do of philosophy, starting with existentialism.
Exactly. This is the critical philosophical engine, as Galton presents it. He leans heavily on Jean-Paul Sartre's famous line, "Existence precedes essence."
Okay, that's one of those phrases you hear a lot. Existence precedes essence. Let's linger on that because it sounds dense.
It is dense, but the core idea is revolutionary for how we think about being human.
So normally if I think about making something like, I don't know, a coffee mug, its essence, its purpose, to hold coffee, I figure that out before I make it, right? The design comes first. Essence precedes existence.
Perfect example. For manufactured things, yes. But Sartre flips it for humans.
So for us,
For us, he argues, we're just thrown into existence first. Poof, here we are, born without a pre-written soul script, without a fixed human nature stamped on us, and crucially, without any inherent purpose assigned by a god or cosmic force.
so we arrive blank, or maybe not blank, but undefined.
Undefined is a good way to put it. Dynamic potential, maybe. We first exist, and then we define who we are, our essence, through every action we take, every choice we make, how we react to the world.
We literally become the sum of our choices and actions.
Yes. You are what you do.
Wow. The consequence of that is staggering. It means we are, as you said, radically free, completely free to shape our own lives, our own values, our own morality.
Radically free. If there's no divine template, no fixed human nature, then every significant choice you make isn't just for you. It's a choice defining what you think a human should be in that situation.
That sounds intense.
It is. That radical freedom is both the ultimate liberation and potentially the ultimate burden. It places this enormous, almost terrifying responsibility squarely on the individual. You have to create your own purpose.
And Dalton connects this to that existential anxiety we mentioned, the anguish.
Yes, directly. The source material points out that this profound freedom is the root of what the existentialists called anguish. It's that dizzying feeling you get when you realize there are no ultimate excuses, no higher power telling you what's right. You choose, and you're responsible for that choice.
Because when you choose for yourself, Sartre said, you're kind of choosing for everyone. You're saying this is how a person should act.
Exactly. You're putting forward a model of humanity with your actions. So the challenge from a humanist perspective, building on this, isn't to run away from that anxiety. It's to face it, embrace the responsibility, and use it as fuel
Fuel to what's to actually build that authentic, meaningful life you've chosen?
Precisely, to craft it consciously.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here. This sounds great, this radical freedom, but if meaning is purely self-created, what stops it from becoming completely subjective? Like anything goes.
That's the classic challenge, right? If I find meaning in helping people and someone else claims they find meaning in, I don't know, burning down buildings, are those equally valid from this standpoint? Where are the guardrails?
Yeah, if we're radically free, doesn't that risk chaos? Or even nihilism, the idea that nothing really matters anyway?
It's a crucial friction point. And Dalton addresses it by showing how existentialism for humanism doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's connected to a broader humanist ethos, one that's rooted in shared human experience, reason, and science.
Ah, okay. So the freedom is existential, but the content we choose isn't arbitrary.
Exactly. While the choice to create meaning is individual, the kind of meaning that leads to genuine flourishing tends to align with observable human needs and well-being. Humanism avoids pure subjectivism by anchoring purpose to values we can derive rationally and observe empirically,
Like what?
like reducing suffering ours and others, promoting critical thinking and reason, realizing human potential. These aren't just random choices. They're based on understanding what actually helps humans thrive, individually and collectively. The freedom is channeled, you could say, by our nature as rational social beings.
Okay, that makes sense. It connects the freedom back to our shared reality. Which leads us nicely to the second philosophical pillar you mentioned, humanist psychology, the part that defines our potential once we accept the freedom.
Precisely. If existentialism lays out the scope of our freedom and responsibility, humanist psychology offers a positive vision of what we can do with it. It's often called the third force in psychology.
The third force. Why third?
It emerged sort of mid-20th century as a deliberate alternative to the two dominant forces at the time. Behaviorism,
Which saw people as basically stimulus response machines,
pretty much, and psychoanalysis.
focused heavily on unconscious drives, conflicts, neuroses.
Right. Humanist psychology, with figures like Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, came along and said, wait a minute, what about growth? What about potential? What about health? It offered a fundamentally more positive, proactive view of human nature.
So it accepts the existential freedom, but frames it not just as anxiety, but as opportunity.
Exactly. It posits this really optimistic core belief that individuals have an inherent innate capacity or drive toward self-understanding, growth, and psychological health. Meaning isn't just something you wrestle out of the void, it's something you can achieve through developing your inherent potential.
And Dalton highlights 4 key principles of this, right, to help us grasp how this translates into a life plan.
Yes, these are like the guiding stars for building that positive life path within the freedom we have.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, a focus on the whole person. Humanist psychology rejects chopping people up into just isolated behaviors or unconscious drives. It looks at you holistically, your thoughts, feelings, body, past, future hopes. They're all interconnected and vital to who you are.
Got it. Whole person. What's second?
Second, echoing existentialism, but with that positive spin, is the emphasis on personal responsibility and your ability to make conscious choices. It really empowers the individual, seeing them as the primary agent in their own life.
Okay, responsibility again, but framed as power. Third,
Third, and this is a big one, a core belief in the inherent goodness, or at least neutrality, of human nature. This contrasts sharply with views emphasizing original sin or fundamental brokenness. The idea is that given supportive conditions, people naturally tend towards growth and positive social behavior.
interesting. So the default setting is growth, not conflict.
That's the optimistic view, yes. And finally, the fourth principle, which is maybe the most famous, the importance of self-actualization.
Maslow's hierarchy, reaching the top.
Exactly that lineage. It's this ongoing, lifelong process of striving to realize your unique capabilities, fulfilling your potential creative, intellectual, emotional, becoming the best, most authentic version of yourself you can be.
Okay, I see the connection now. It's quite elegant. Existentialism defines the vast, sometimes scary space of our freedom and the necessity of choosing.
The burden and the opportunity.
Then humanist psychology comes in, this third force, and defines the incredible potential that exists within that space. It argues that creating meaning isn't just about avoiding despair, it's about actively reaching for growth.
Right. It says the most authentic and fulfilling way to use that freedom is precisely through this journey of self-actualization, personal growth, expressing yourself authentically, and using your unique talents.
So you're free to choose. And the best choice, in terms of a fulfilling life, is to choose growth, and becoming fully yourself.
That's the synthesis Dalton presents, yes. Freedom meets potential.
Okay, so we've got the cosmic backdrop, or improbable wonders. We've got the philosophical core, radical freedom, coupled with innate potential for growth, for self-actualization.
Mm.
But it still sounds like a potentially lonely path, a lot of individual striving.
Right. It could sound very inward focused, just me and my potential against the universe.
Yeah. But surely we don't build meaning entirely in isolation. This is where Dalton brings in the social dimension, right? This gets really interesting.
Absolutely. This tension between that radical individual freedom from existentialism and our undeniable nature as deeply social beings is critical to the humanist synthesis Dalton describes.
So it's not just about me defining myself.
Not at all. While the choice and responsibility start with the individual, humanism fully recognizes that humans are fundamentally interconnected. We evolved as social creatures. Our survival and flourishing have always depended on cooperation, empathy, community.
We're wired for connection.
Deeply wired. So the synthesis here views the individual not as a solitary atom, but as inherently part of a larger whole, an evolving human story. We define ourselves through our actions, yes, but those actions gain much of their meaning and resonance through their impact on others.
Ah, okay. So that individual self-actualization finds its fullest expression when it connects outwards.
Precisely. This leads directly to a huge practical source of meaning: contribution. Finding purpose often involves directing that self-actualized energy towards something beyond your own skin.
Like what kind of things?
Oh, Dalton points out it can take countless forms. It could be nurturing deep, loving personal relationships, family, friends. It could be engaging in your local community, volunteering.
Or bigger scale things.
Sure, championing social justice causes you believe in. Contributing to science or art or knowledge in ways that benefit humanity. Starting a business that solves a real problem. Basically, any endeavor where you use your unique existence, already amazing, just by being here to contribute positively to the well-being or flourishing of others.
So when your improbable life touches other lives positively, the meaning gets amplified.
Exactly. It resonates. Trying to build meaning purely internally ignores a massive part of our psychology, our evolutionary heritage. Connection and contribution are not optional extras for a meaningful life. They're often central components.
That makes a lot of sense. It grounds the individual journey in a shared reality. Now, besides this outward focus on connection, Dalton also highlights a specific internal tool, a psychological practice we can use daily. That's mindfulness.
Yes, mindfulness and present-centered living. And it's important to note, while mindfulness has deep roots in traditions like Buddhism, humanism utilizes it as a secular, practical, evidence-based tool.
Okay, so not necessarily religious, but a technique for what exactly?
The core technique is about cultivating present moment awareness, paying attention, intentionally, non-judgmentally, to what's happening right now, your thoughts, your feelings, the sensations in your body, the world around you. Just noticing without immediately getting swept away by judgments or stories about what you're noticing. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful.
Why is this tool so relevant to that whole existential struggle we talked about earlier? The anxiety, the anguish of freedom and responsibility.
Because so much of that anguish comes from our minds drifting away from the present. We get lost ruminating about past mistakes or regrets, things we absolutely cannot change.
Guilty as charged.
We all do it.
Right.
Or we project anxieties onto the future, worrying about things that might happen, things that are often uncertain or outside our control.
Also guilty.
Right. Mindfulness acts like an anchor. It intentionally brings you back, grounds you in the now. This present moment is the only place you actually live, the only place you can make a choice, the only place you can act.
So it stops the mental time travel that fuels anxiety.
It helps interrupt that cycle, yes.
Yeah.
By cultivating this deep awareness of the present, you stop feeding the regrets of the past and the fears of the future quite so much. You engage with life as it's actually happening.
That's a powerful reframing. It shifts the search for meaning away from some distant, perhaps unattainable future goal.
And plants it firmly in the richness of your current lived experience. It fosters a sense of meaning simply through deep engagement with life, moment by unfolding moment.
Even the difficult moments.
Especially the difficult moments. Mindfulness doesn't promise to eliminate suffering. Humanism acknowledges suffering is part of life, but by being fully present with difficulty, without adding layers of fearful stories on top, it can change your relationship to it. It disarms some of its power to create that deep existential dread.
So you're creating your essence, your meaning in this present moment. Mindfulness helps make sure you're actually awake and present for that creation process.
Beautifully put. That's exactly the idea. It's a practical tool for living out that philosophical freedom and potential right here, right now.
Okay, we've built quite a picture. A scientific foundation, philosophical freedom and potential, practical tools like connection and mindfulness. But now, we hit the big one. The question that always gets thrown at non-religious worldviews.
Ah, yes, the ethics question.
Exactly. If you're not following rules laid down by a deity, if there's no divine commandment saying thou shalt not, then how on earth do you decide what's right and wrong?
Mhm.
How do you build a solid, reliable, ethical framework?
It's arguably the most crucial practical challenge, and understandably so. Societies need shared ethics to function.
Right. So how does Dalton, representing this humanist synthesis, address this? How do you get objective morality without God?
Well, the first thing Dalton emphasizes is that humanism doesn't abandon ethics. It seeks to rationalize them. It grounds them in human reason, empathy, and the observable consequences of actions on human well-being, drawing on centuries of secular philosophical thought.
So the source shifts from divine authority to human reason and experience.
Precisely. It's about building ethics from the ground up, based on what we can understand and observe about ourselves and our societies. And Dalton outlines four major frameworks that humanism draws upon. They're not mutually exclusive, they often work together.
Okay, let's break those down. What's the first one?
The first is perhaps the most foundational: rational ethics. This approach uses reason, logical consistency, and empirical observation, looking at the real-world results of actions to figure out moral principles.
So thinking things through logically.
Thinking things through and challenging assumptions, it fundamentally rejects the idea that morality depends on a divine command. It tackles that old philosophical puzzle, the Euthyphro dilemma.
Which is? Remind me.
Is something good simply because God commands it? Or does God command it because it is inherently good?
Right, the causality question.
Exactly. Rational ethics firmly lands on the second option. Morality has an inherent logic, independent of divine will, and our human reason is capable of figuring it out. We observe that certain actions, like pointless cruelty, cause suffering, while others, like cooperation and honesty, tend to promote well-being. From that, we can deduce principles like reciprocity, the golden rule, as rational moral guidelines.
Okay, so reason and observation was the second framework.
The second shifts the focus firmly onto outcomes. Utilitarianism.
The greatest good for the greatest number idea.
That's the core principle, yes. Associated with philosophers like Bentham and Mill, it's a consequentialist theory. The moral rightness or wrongness of an action is judged solely by its consequences. The goal is to choose the action that maximizes overall happiness or well-being, or minimizes suffering for the largest number of people affected.
Now this one always raises concerns, doesn't it? What about the minority? Could utilitarianism justify sacrificing the few for the many? The whole tyranny of the majority problem? How does Dalton address that?
That's a critical and valid concern. Dalton stresses that a sophisticated humanist application of utilitarianism can't be simplistic bean counting of pleasure points. Good has to be defined broadly, encompassing not just immediate happiness, but long-term flourishing, justice, fairness, individual rights, and the reduction of deep suffering.
So it's not just about maximizing pizza parties, it's about deeper values.
Exactly. And crucially, humanist ethics usually temper pure utilitarian calculations with principles drawn from the other frameworks, especially rational ethics and social contract theory. These often emphasize inviolable individual rights, recognizing that protecting everyone's basic rights, even the minorities, actually leads to a more stable and ultimately better society for the greatest number in the long run.
Okay, so the frameworks interact to provide checks and balances. That makes sense. What's the third one? This shifts gears again, right?
Completely. We move from rules, rational ethics, and consequences, utilitarianism, to character, virtue ethics.
This goes way back, doesn't it? Aristotle.
Very much so. Virtue ethics focuses less on what should I do in a specific situation and more on what kind of person should I strive to be.
Cultivating good habits, basically.
Cultivating positive moral character traits, yes. Virtues like honesty, compassion, courage, integrity, justice, wisdom, generosity, temperance. The idea is that if you consistently work on developing a virtuous character, then right action will tend to follow naturally, almost intuitively. That's the goal. The aim is eudaimonia, often translated as human flourishing or living well, which Aristotle believed was achieved through living a life of rational activity in accordance with virtue. You define your essence, going back to Sartre, through the consistent practice of ethical habits.
Interesting. Less about moment-to-moment calculation, more about long-term personal development. Okay, and the fourth framework. You mentioned social contract.
Yes, social contract theory. This one is highly practical, especially relevant to how we structure society and law. It derives ethical principles from the idea of a hypothetical agreement
An agreement between whom?
between rational individuals who are figuring out how to live together peacefully and productively. What rules would free rational people agree to abide by in order to leave a chaotic state of nature and form a stable society for mutual benefit and protection?
So we give up some absolute freedom.
In exchange for security, cooperation, and the benefits of living in an ordered community. It's grounded in practicality, consensus, and enlightened self-interest.
And Dalton connects this directly to our legal systems.
Absolutely. He specifically points out that democratically agreed criminal and civil laws are, in many ways, the tangible expression of this ongoing social contract. Our laws about property, safety, fairness, contracts aren't seen as divinely inspired dictates, but as rational, human-created agreements designed to make society work.
And crucially, they can be changed,
Yeah.
debated, updated.
Yes, that's vital. They're not set in stone. They're living contracts, ideally subject to ongoing rational debate, democratic revision, and improvement based on our evolving understanding of justice and human well-being.
Wow. Okay, so taken together, rational ethics, utilitarianism tempered by rights, virtue ethics focused on character, and social contract theory underpinning law, that's quite a toolkit.
It really is.
So the big takeaway here, the synthesis for you listening, is that Dalton argues persuasively that you can build robust, functional, sophisticated ethical systems entirely without needing a religious foundation. It's a complete system based on reason, empathy, observation, and agreement.
Absolutely. The challenge isn't a lack of potential moral frameworks. The humanist challenge is accepting the ongoing responsibility of choosing which frameworks to apply, reasoning through ethical dilemmas, and participating in the societal process of maintaining and refining our shared ethics. It shifts the burden from blind faith to active, conscious, rational participation.
So let's try and pull all these threads together. We started way out with the cosmos, came down to radical individual freedom, explored our potential for growth, looked at connection, mindfulness, and now these rational ethical frameworks. What does it all boil down to?
I think ultimately it boils down to embracing the journey, accepting that maybe there isn't one single definitive external meaning of life handed down from on high.
And being okay with that uncertainty.
Yes, that comfort with ambiguity, with uncertainty, seems to be a core requirement, maybe even a virtue, within the humanist worldview Dalton describes. If there are no absolute supernatural answers guaranteed, then you have to learn to find meaning somewhere else.
And where is that somewhere else?
Partly, it's in the search itself. In the process of asking the big questions, learning about the universe and ourselves, constantly refining our understanding. And partly, perhaps most powerfully, it's found in wonder. Sheer, unadulterated wonder at the fact of existence.
Which brings us right back around to science, doesn't it, where we started. Science isn't just providing facts, it's providing the fuel for that wonder.
Absolutely. Dalton argues passionately that the scientific story, far from disenchanting the world, is the most potent source of awe available to us. Think about it. The sheer scale of the cosmos revealed by astronomy.
Billions of galaxies.
The incredible complexity of life uncovered by biology right down to the molecular level. The intricate dance of ecosystems. The evolution of consciousness itself. These scientifically revealed truths are staggering. They should inspire profound wonder and humility.
This is what Dalton calls the cosmic perspective.
Exactly. It's about cultivating an awareness of our place within these vast scales of space and time.
But how does that grand perspective actually help, day to day? When you're dealing with mundane frustrations or real suffering, it's easy to feel awe looking at a nebula picture, harder when the dishwasher breaks again.
Right. The cosmic perspective isn't about detaching from daily life. It's about infusing daily life with a sense of significance by connecting it back to that larger reality.
How so?
Well, that broken dishwasher. The frustration you feel is real, but the fact that you can feel frustration, that you possess the complex consciousness to analyze the problem, that the dishwasher itself represents incredible feats of physics and engineering derived from human ingenuity over centuries, all of that connects back.
Seeing the mundane is an expression of the extraordinary.
Precisely. It allows you to see each moment, even the difficult or boring ones, not as meaningless trivialities, but as unique, unrepeatable expressions of this vast 13.8 billion year cosmic unfolding. You are privileged simply to be aware, to participate, to feel, to think right now. That perspective can genuinely shift how you experience things.
That's a powerful shift. Okay, so let's really nail down the final synthesis for everyone listening. If we recap the essence of humanist meaning-making as Dalton presents it, what's the core personal takeaway?
I think the ultimate conclusion, the bedrock idea, is that meaning is fundamentally created, not discovered. It is not given, but chosen.
You build it.
You build it. It's a
Yeah.
deeply personal, ongoing, creative project. You are simultaneously the architect, the builder, and the building material of your own purpose.
And it emerges from.
It emerges from that complex interplay of everything we've discussed. Your conscious, informed choices based on reason and evidence, the depth and quality of your relationships and contributions to others, your mindful engagement with the present moment, your commitment to living ethically according to rationally derived principles.
So the final call to action is,
The ultimate call, I think, from a humanist standpoint, is to embrace that responsibility fully. Take ownership of your life, your choices, your actions. Find genuine wonder in the natural world as revealed by science, and actively create your purpose through connection, contribution, and ethical living. You have this one brief, incredible existence. It's entirely up to you how you define it and what you make of it. Hashtags, outro.
well, that's quite a journey we've taken. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into, really, the art and science of self-construction, exploring how we can forge meaning and ethics using the tools of science, philosophy, and psychology, guided by James Dalton's humanist synthesis.
It's a powerful framework, and perhaps a final thought to leave you with. Picking up on that core humanist idea of self-actualization we discussed, realizing your unique potential. If meaning truly is created by your choices and your essence is defined by your actions, maybe ask yourself this. What specific concrete action could you take, maybe even today, right now, that would fully leverage your unique talents and potential in a way that contributes something positive, however small, an action that would be, in that Sartrean sense, you defining your essence through doing, something to perhaps mull over as you go about your day.